here.
Hey, Kayla.
Hi, Iyanna.
Welcome to Fill in the Blank podcast.
Welcome.
Get away, it'll be okay, it'll be okay, no place we can go, 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 get away.
Fill in the blank.
Welcome to Fill in the Blank podcast, where we are very unserious.
Per usual.
Hi, Iyanna.
Hi, Kayla. How are you?
I'm a little better. I was really tired.
Oh, what? Earlier today?
Yes. Yes.
I'm still drained.
I just feel like when people plan weddings, they should be able to take a leave, almost like maternity leave. It should be like a wedding leave.
I can see that, especially toward the end.
Yeah, like right now,
Yeah.
I need to be off of work.
No, I feel
every
that.
day.
I feel that.
So yeah,
I feel that.
the struggle's real, but you know, I'm out here and I'm making
Keep
it,
pushing it.
and we're gonna have a great time. You guys, there has been some discrepancy about the song that the bridesmaids are coming into. So recommend what song you think the bridesmaids should come into the reception
What's
to.
the vibes you looking for, though?
Lit.
Yeah.
Like, we're partying, y'all.
Do you want ratchet lit? Do you want...
It don't have to be ratchet,
Okay.
but we could just have a good time. It just needs to be a song that's going to get the people going.
Get the people going. Yeah, give some song recommendations, because she's stressing herself out over this.
Yeah.
For the whole bridal party or just bridesmaids?
No, bridesmaids, y'all are coming in separately. That's why it's a competition. I'm trying to put y'all in a good position
Oh, I see.
to compete against the
Y'all
guys.
put us on.
Yeah.
We need a good song.
How are you?
Woo! I'm
I'm tired.
I've had a long weekend.
How was New York?
New York was interesting. You will not see me post anything because I don't have much to post, okay? Let's just say...
Besides your busted kneecaps.
Okay, besides the busted kneecaps and that night, besides that night, things were pretty good, you know? I got to see some people that I went to college with. I haven't seen them in like 10 years.
That's so great.
That was nice. Got to walk around Soho a little bit. Yeah, it was a vibe. And then that night happened. And I got blackout drunk. I busted my knee. You can see the white meat right now on my knee. It's really gross.
Chaos ensued.
Chaos ensued. Yeah.
That's all we'll say.
That's all we'll say.
What do you rate New York on your scale of cities? Because I feel like you
love New York.
Do you?
But it's been growing. It's been a growing like love.
Okay.
So I visited New York for the first time when I was 13 for like one day or something. It was like 1 day trip. It was cool, you know. I was 13, so whatever. The next time I went was with my parents. Wouldn't recommend that as a first trip. We were doing a lot of touristy stuff, which was fine, but like my parents were arguing. It was pissing me off. I didn't get to bring my friend because my friend couldn't come because his parents said no, which also pissed me off. It was just a lot going on. And then it wasn't until really New Year's of this year when I started to really enjoy New York.
Oh, that's cool.
Because that's when I started dating New York.
Yeah.
And he showed me New York through a different lens. And ever since then, I've been enjoying it.
That's cool. I don't think I've ever really gotten a good representation of New York, so I don't really like it. I've been twice. The first time that I went to New York, I was in 8th grade, and I went for the best friend that I had at the time. We went out there for her to shop for her freshman year in high school. Don't ask questions.
Wait, I'm sorry. Just one question. I just clarify. You went to New York just so she could shop
for her freshman year in high school.
For her freshman year. So no like big event, just like freshman year of high school?
Nope. It was me, her mom, and our other best friend. And we all went.
So she could shop.
For
freshman year
in high school. So that was my first time going to New York.
That's
interesting. And then the second time that I went, the second time that I went was in college with my friend that I had at the time, Keely, who I really loved. Okay. So we went out there to visit her sister because her sister lives in New York.
Okay.
And her sister worked for Vogue magazine.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah, so that was really nice. However, it was a great experience, but as we all know, there are white and black sides to all parts of life.
Oh.
And I went, and they're white.
I was like, are we talking racially or are we? Okay, go ahead.
They're white. So, I mean, it was a good time, but I think
different.
that, it was just different than probably the experience I would have if I went with friends that are black.
Right.
So that was the only times that I've been out there.
Wow. Okay. So we got to go again.
And then when I went there that second time, Oh, we got to go. Yes, the podcast. We do need to go.
New York was saying that I should have brought all of you guys. He was like, I would have loved to show y'all all around. Because I saw him
look at all our faces.
This weekend. I saw him.
Because you ain't tell us. I couldn't have went anyways because I had the wedding.
Yeah, because he was asking. He was like, why didn't Kayla come? He was like, isn't this fashion stuff her thing? I was like, yeah,
Iyanna don't tell me nothing. We get on the call. She was like, oh yeah, I'm going to New York Fashion Week. I'm like,
I thought I did tell y'all this.
No.
Well, I got invited. I got invited.
That's okay. We're planning for it. We're going to go to New York Fashion Week, all the things.
It's a fun little, quick little trip.
I just don't like, there's a couple things I don't like about New York.
What is it? Dirty?
It's dirty.
It's very dirty. It is very
It's
dirty.
expensive.
It can be expensive, yes.
I don't like that you can't have a car out there.
You don't really, yeah, okay.
I mean, you don't need it, but I don't
You're scared
like
to take the train.
I'm not scared to take the train because taking the train in New York is not like taking the train in Chicago, and I've taken the train in Chicago.
I'm scared to take the train in New York because of the trains in Chicago.
It's
Even
different,
though I know they're different, it still freaks me out.
Yeah, it's very different. I took it when I went out there both of the times that I went. So I'm not really scared of it, but because of the fact that the trains in Chicago are the trains in Chicago, I just would rather not take the train, if that makes sense.
I feel that.
So then I end up...
those are expensive.
Yeah. Then I end up doing what? Ubering everywhere.
Not
and
Ubers
pricey.
were average about $60.
That's what I'm saying. It's expensive.
And
that's why people take the subway everywhere.
Yeah, but they said the subway wasn't that bad at all. But I was scared to do that by myself. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it by myself either.
Yeah.
Even though people do it all the time.
Yeah, I didn't trust it. I was just scared.
So yeah.
Okay, so we need to add that to our list.
We will. I think it's already on our list.
New York trip.
Yeah.
Is it on? Okay, sure.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Anything else new?
Oh, I went to a wedding in Escanaba, Michigan.
Whatever the fuck that means.
The Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It was trees everywhere.
Was it very white?
It was very white. Okay. And it was a lot of greenery and deers
pretty.
running.
I bet it was pretty.
Deers were running across the road.
I love places.
It was pretty, but it made me kind of anxious because I'm from Chicago and I'm used to trains and
people
screeching and, noise and food. Good food. It wasn't good food in Escanaba.
Not Escanaba. I like that name though.
It is kind of cute, right?
Escanaba.
And they nickname it, well, not nickname it, but for short, they call it Esky.
Esky.
That's cute, right?
That's cute.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I have to share. We went for one of Marcus's best friend's wedding. Mm-hmm. It was so great. I've never got a chance to meet them before. Mm-hmm. So it was great to get to meet his friends from college. And they were all just so nice. Everybody up there was really nice too. So it was a good experience.
Love that for him.
I was just hungry. But I'm always hungry. So
facts. Facts. When are you not? Okay. Well, that's beautiful. Shall we get into the episode?
Let's do it.
We said we were going to do an episode of substance. This is our episode of substance.
Yes, it's been a minute. We know that we have been very silly lately. We just have not been in the mood to have a lot of deep conversations.
So we also haven't been in the mindset.
We really haven't. We're barely there today, but we're going to push it out.
I just feel like life be already... I be tired.
It's because life be so heavy.
I be having
that I be trying to escape.
I just want to chill, bro.
Yeah, we be trying to have a good time, but we know what y'all are here for, and so we're gonna give you what you want.
Y'all.
We gonna get back into it.
I'm trying to get back into.
So what are we talking about today?
Oh, today we are talking about transparency versus vulnerability.
Yay!
Mainly we're talking about vulnerability, but
mainly? Why?
Mainly. Well, because transparency is pretty simple to talk about.
Okay.
Like it's pretty simple to talk about.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question.
Yes, question.
Do you consider yourself to be transparent or vulnerable?
I think that I am naturally transparent.
Okay.
That's about it.
I think I am naturally vulnerable.
Okay.
And wait, before we get into why, we asked you all.
Well, we can ask again why after.
Yeah.
After we've already explained everything. And then we can say why for real. Because then we'll have reasons.
Yes. So we asked you all why. I mean, not why. We asked you all, what do y'all think?
What was the majority answer?
The majority said that they believe that they are transparent. 37 votes for transparent and 20 votes for vulnerable.
Okay. So most people do consider themselves transparent. Okay. So difference between the two. Transparency is simply being honest about your thoughts and feelings. Vulnerability is doing just that, being honest about your thoughts and feelings at the risk of being emotionally hurt. So there's some degree of uncertainty and feeling of uncertainty to how this other person is going to respond to this information. Like, you don't know if you're going to be rejected, shamed, guilted, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. That's what makes it vulnerability. Mm-hmm. I realized vulnerability definitely looks different for different people. I think the example I gave to someone was like two people can experience something, the same thing, like an abortion. Mm-hmm. It could, if someone talking about it, one person talking about it could be simply them being transparent about like, oh yeah, this is what happened. Someone else could talk about that and they may experience some form of shame and like guilt around that emotion. So when they're describing or expressing something that happened to them, the abortion that happened to them or that they chose, then that's vulnerability for them. Mm-hmm. So it's different for everybody. Another way that it was described to me was like, if you look inside a house and you're looking inside the windows, transparency is saying, yo, yeah, you can look inside, but don't touch nothing. Mm-hmm. Vulnerability is like, okay, yeah, you can look inside. And actually, why don't you also come inside with me and sit with me while I, be in these emotions. Mm-hmm. So difference between the two.
So why do you think that you are a more transparent person?
I think I'm naturally just a very honest person. Just naturally. I think the only thing that's confused me as far as like whether I'm vulnerable or not has been the show and my very public marriage. Mm-hmm. I think naturally, though, I would not have felt inclined to share at all. Mm-hmm. Maybe with my friends and family and stuff. But usually when I do share, it's either in the beginning when I realize something's happening. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, if I'm going through some form of an identity crisis, it's like, oh, shit, y'all, I might be gay. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I won't talk like through the emotion part with them. Mm-hmm. And not until everything is like already done with and like there's been some form of conclusion or clarity on what I'm thinking and feeling. And then I'll like just say it.
But process internally.
So that's just me being transparent. Now, every once in a while, I will have a moment where I'm being completely vulnerable. Like, for example, anytime we have a conflict, I feel like that requires vulnerability because we don't know how the other person is going to respond to that. Nonetheless, like we know that it's a necessary step in order to, move forward. Yeah. So in situations like that, I can be definitely vulnerable. But like for the most part, I think I'm pretty just transparent.
Yeah, I feel like with me, I'm definitely more vulnerable than I am transparent. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times, like being very honest, what you see is not always what you get with me. I think that I am pretty good at putting on the face that I need to put on in order to accomplish whatever it is that I need to accomplish at the time. And I think I learned that from a pretty young age because of the fact that I experienced like so much loss at a young age. And it's always like when you experience loss and you're a kid, it's like all eyes are on you, right? Like everybody's watching you like, what's she going to do? How's she going to react? Yeah. Is she going to break down? That whole thing. And so I learned to put a face on to protect and guard myself. And I think that I've carried that into my life just in general.
I would imagine so. Because if you're doing it for that long, it just becomes piece of like your protectiveness.
Right. But I am very open to sharing my emotions with people. I am very open to share things that I went through. I don't feel as though stories, like things that have happened to me for me to keep them to myself. Like I'm like, okay, I'll share these things so other people can learn with me, and like I'll be in these emotions with you and whatnot. But in terms of you looking at me and being able to like see what it is I'm feeling, thinking, like I feel like certain people can, like certain people I'm really close to, like all of you, yes. Like I think that there's a certain level of transparency that I have, but in terms of like outsiders and people who don't know me, no. I feel like I come off as a very different version of myself than what I really am.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah. I just think people don't, I don't know. And I think about that even, it's been coming up a lot with me with work too. That it's that feeling of like this identity of who I am is not who I really am.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Do you get what I mean?
No,
like,
I see what you mean.
I'm still open. Like I still share things about myself, but it's still that aspect of feeling like I'm putting on a face. Like,
is it because of you're playing a role?
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's almost like playing a role.
Yeah.
And me being very understanding of the role that I have to play in different scenarios. Yeah. And putting on the face that I need for those things.
I feel like that's pretty normal, especially in the workspace. It's hard to find, first of all, it's hard to find work as a whole that you can be completely vulnerable in. Yeah. Even with me being on social media, I can't be completely vulnerable with my audience as far as like things that are going on as a whole. Like some things I don't mind sharing with people, but other things it's like, oh, that's a little too close right there. So I don't know that you can find that anywhere. I don't know. But then it makes me think about these jobs that try to create like, it's like a inauthentic forced vulnerability. You know how they do those? Oh my gosh. You know how they do those exercises in the beginning and they say like, tell me something that like you were embarrassed by, or a situation that stressed you out, or like a blah, 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 blah. And so now I'm stressing out trying to figure out what's something that I can share that's like that'll appease people, but that they're trying to create vulnerability, but that's not what it's doing. It's just like vulnerability has to be, first of all, it can't be something that's forced. It has to be something that's like
that naturally
happens. Like, because vulnerability requires the specific person who's, you know, expressing the vulnerability to be open to that. You can't push somebody into that.
Yeah, you really can't. Like, it has to be something that somebody naturally wants to do. Yeah. And I just wonder kind of what drives that in people. Like,
what that makes them want to do it.
Yeah.
I will say, I think vulnerability is definitely I think it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the more that you realize like, oh, everything actually did end up okay. Because people who do practice a lot more vulnerability typically have higher lifespans. They typically have more fulfilling relationships. They have higher levels of self-acceptance because like you talking about it, you have to accept certain things about yourself in order to tell other people about it, because you don't know how they're going to react. And regardless of how they react, you have to accept whatever that consequence is, because you know it's a risk to tell them. Yeah. Nonetheless, at the end of the day, you know who you are. And that's the only reason, part of the reason why you share it, because it's like, well, this is how I feel about it. If you react poorly, that's going to hurt my feelings. But nonetheless, I'll probably still be open enough with someone else who does deserve this because I know who I am.
Yeah, I think that like, it's really crazy. I think that I used to be way more vulnerable than what I am now. I might be, well, I'll get into that. But I think that I feel like I'm the most vulnerable with Marcus.
As you should
be. It literally just comes out of me.
As
like
you should be. Has it always been like that?
In relationships, I've always been that way. I've always been that way. I've always been my most vulnerable self. In a relationship. I feel the most comfortable addressing concerns because I do not like conflict. Yeah. So I try to avoid conflict at all costs. If it is not something that is gonna like really impede on me, then I will try my hardest to not put myself in the face of conflict. Yeah. But when it comes to relationships, baby, I don't care. We will be in conflict.
I agree. Even beyond conflict, if there's just like something that I'm feeling, even when it comes to work or like anything, because I think the hardest thing for me to share with people is usually when I'm in a state of confusion, because I don't like being misunderstood and I don't like people holding me to a standard of what I used to feel when I've already changed my mind, because then that's going to piss me off, because I'm like, no, you don't understand. I know that was 2 days ago, but that's not how I feel no more. Like, I've moved on. So that's usually when it's harder for me to be vulnerable. But in relationships, it could be conflict with them. It could be something in my workspace. Like, I am just an open book. But that's why I always have craved more intimacy and connection in my relationships. Crazy enough, sometimes I can't get that met with some of these men, but because they don't know how to do it. They literally don't know how to do it, which still reminds me of that woman on TikTok who was saying that it's hard for her to compare her romantic relationships to her friendships, because her friendships just like can reach higher heights than any of her romantic relationships have, which is crazy.
What? I didn't see that.
I keep saying it everywhere, and I think it's because I liked it once. It keeps showing up.
What do you think about that?
I think we're in the middle of like some form of an epidemic or something. Or maybe it's just because we're at an age where like people are getting more serious about things and they're starting to see a deficit. But I think me being a single, even before I was single though, when I was married, I used to just hear all these complaints about like women not necessarily finding the right men for them because they feel like men are emotionally unavailable or they're emotionally stunted, and they don't value things like connection, emotional connection or vulnerability. They don't know how to do that. They don't have these skills in order to build a more connected relationship.
Yeah. They're not raised to though. And so that's why you find these outliers that are like people where they talk about like, oh, finding a man like this is rare because in most men it's not instilled in them. They don't have the same type of training up that women do to be like empathetic, to be vulnerable, to be transparent, and all of that.
I don't believe that I think yes, that's absolutely true that they're not trained. But I think by your early 30s, you should have wanted to crave more for yourself, like crave more connectedness or crave more. I don't know, just like genuinity and authenticity in your relationships. And you have to seek that out.
But do you feel like people will have that desire if they don't surround themselves? Like, I feel like a lot of things are relative. So like I get so like freaked out. I have these conversations with Marcus because he talks about how like women were when he was like dating and stuff like that. And I would just be like, what? Like, women are not like that, but because my relativity, like
with women that you know,
they're not like
and
that.
You surround.
I don't surround myself with people that are like that.
Facts.
And so I think that when it comes to men who may not have that desire for the connectedness, for G-unit.
G-unit. Sorry. Okay.
Y'all know what I'm trying to
say.
Genuinity. Why would they crave that?
You know what I will say? The part that's annoying. Usually when you find a rare man that you've dated, his friends are also like that. His friends are also like that. It's like, God damn it, I can't date the homie.
No. They're all in the same circle.
Fuck.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's a sad day. You try to do that, then you're going to be the problem.
The problem.
Then you're the problem. You're the one that they talk about.
Look.
Those trifling, conniving women.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
I'm so weak.
It's okay.
This was what I was going to say earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So vulnerability is something that has been like a pretty big theme right now in my life because of the fact, I kind of talked about this last week, about the aspect of my job sucking vulnerability out of me. Because
it's not a space for you to be vulnerable. It's for everyone else to be vulnerable. But I think that's hard for you because you connect with mutual vulnerability, and you can't do that in your, you can be transparent, but that's not as like rewarding.
Yeah, but then it makes me not desire it outside of my work life because my work life is so emotionally draining and taxing on me. And I never thought that it would be like, because I've always, been that person. Like, I could take it, like, it's cool, but I think it's exactly what you said. It's the fact that I enjoy the mutual connectedness. Like, okay, let's mutually share. Let's mutually like talk about it. But being in the position where you just have to sit and take it. Oh my gosh.
Wait, listen to how she describes it. I got to sit and take it.
I literally just sit there and I'm like, wow, but I've noticed how it's impacted me emotionally and vulnerability wise in my outside relationship. Like, I just don't have the same capacity,
you don't have the capacity for
that
it.
I used to have.
It reminds me of moms and how they would describe being touched out. I've never experienced this because I don't have a child for myself, but they say some moms will experience like they'll have young children who are just on them all the time, like, and constantly touching, constantly needing, constantly, that when it comes to other people, they don't even want to hug. They don't want to.
Asia, did you experience that?
Asia is a touchy ass.
She is. That's why I wondered. I'm like, did you experience
Asia's
that at any
touchy
point?
as hell.
She is.
But yeah,
that's so interesting. But yeah, it's just like that. It's
emotionally
just like
touched
that.
out.
Emotionally touched out. And so I think that also goes into, even though I've been not working for all this time that we've been having these like fun episodes, but I think that coming from a space where I was working as a counselor last school year and I had that, like, those months off, I feel like a lot of times I'm craving almost like a escape or distraction or something opposite of the experience that I have versus the person that I don't want to say that I previously was because I don't think that it's not the person that I am. I just feel like I don't have access to those pieces of me right now.
Room.
I really don't.
You don't have the room for it.
I really don't. And I miss the girl that used to cry on the drop of a dime. Like, I miss being able to see people cry and I cry with them. I can't do that anymore, but I've been trained out of it.
Moment of silence for the women we used to be 2 years ago.
Okay.
Because I was just talking to my therapist about this yesterday and I was crying and shit about it. I was like, I used to be so optimistic.
What do you feel like took your optimism? You don't want to talk about that?
It's fine. So this is off topic. So we got to quickly talk about this in the
It's off topic, but I feel like it's still, do y'all feel like this is completely off topic?
It's off topic.
Because I feel like it's still.
No, it's off topic.
Oh.
So so one thing about me is I told you, I mean, we've talked about this in several ways, but also yes. And we just talked about it, how like our relationships were it for us. I mean, not it, like our friendships were important too, but like our relationships is where like we experienced the most connectedness and the most like high levels of vulnerability and blah, blah, blah. And that's always been the case for me. And even if it wasn't the case for me, it was always the goal.
Yeah.
So me always striving to be a good person always shifted from like maybe my faith to, because when I went through my faith crisis, it was no longer my faith. And then it was pushing to do whatever role God had for me. And I know the roles that God had for me, and my mind was like, well, I know for a fact it's be a good wife, be a good mother. That was always the push for me to like, I need to be the best person that I can be. And I need to start preparing now in my early 20s because by the time that I'm married, I want to be an amazing wife and I want to be an amazing mother once I have kids.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I know.
Life smacked the shit out of me with that marriage.
Yeah.
Because I went from wanting 5 children before that marriage and being married for the rest of my life to questioning if I could ever find someone that I want to marry again and if I even want to have kids.
Yeah.
So the motivation to continue to grow and be a good person was granted, it wasn't a very good motivation to begin with.
Yeah.
I should have been doing it for myself, but living for myself always seemed boring to me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's what?
Yeah.
There are other people though.
Yeah.
Like, there are other people here.
I get you because that was kind of like my mission for such a long, well, literally up until I found Marcus.
Yeah.
Like my mission, my soul mission, the most important thing to me. And we were kind of having this a conversation around this before we started the episode, but I was so hyper focused on relationships my entire life.
Facts.
It was the only thing that I cared about.
Same.
And I think it was because like when you experience lack in a certain area, you almost dive yourself into the thing that feels, in my mind, it felt like you watch like romance movies, you grow up like watching freaking Disney princesses and stuff like that. And you see how love like saves people.
Yeah.
And so it's just always, to me, in my mind, I was like, well, this is going to save me. So I need to find it.
I'll be happy after this.
Yeah. So I was just always in search of this sort of happiness from relationship instead of looking inward and giving it to myself.
Same. And now I think after my divorce have I realized, once that motivation was like, felt like it was stripped from me, then I realized like, oh shit. Because now there's a deficit. I was talking, this is how I know it's bad. I was talking to my therapist yesterday. She was like, well, I know, Iyanna, you're going to work on this because your growth mindset. I said, I don't know, am I? She said, oh.
You don't think you are? We've been preaching growth mindset on this podcast.
I think I was. You know
Until?
what? I don't know. I don't know what happened. You know what I realized? I am not very good at life when I'm overwhelmed. The issue is I get overwhelmed easily.
Preach to the choir.
I'm just out here living a very dysfunctional life in between extremes.
Yeah.
I'll be like, no, I'm great. I'm fine. I feel equipped for whatever's coming my way. And then something come my way. I'm like, no, I don't want it.
Yeah, that's me. I literally have the same issue.
I'm a life brat.
I've been really trying, and you know what we really have to work on, and we've been saying this for a long time. The both of us.
What?
The both of us. And I'm trying to implement it, but
is it the
so
self-talk?
hard. It's the self-talk.
I knew she was going to say that.
You know what
we got to start correcting each other.
Yeah, but the problem that I have is the internal battle, because what the voices that go on in my head, they're not nice.
They're not nice at all.
I hear very not nice things in my mind about myself constantly.
I don't know how many times a day I call myself stupid. Look, I'm like, Iyanna, why would you do that? That was stupid.
I defeat myself before I ever step forward.
Thanks.
I defeat myself. I'm just like, oh yeah, well that's dumb. Like you're stupid. You're what?
Sorry, this just reminded me of a tweet I saw. It's gonna fuck you up.
Oh God.
It's gonna fuck you up.
But I've been trying to work. I've tried. The thing is, I feel like the best that I was at it, which is so wild, was during the pandemic.
I was just thinking about this yesterday. I was like, damn, I need another quarantine. But like, what was it? What was it during the pandemic that made it so perfect for us to be the best versions of ourselves?
Because we didn't have the distractions. All that we had to do was choose ourselves. And like what you just said, what I agree with, you get so overwhelmed by outside factors that it makes you crumble. And during the pandemic, there were like the outside factor was that COVID is going on and you're in the house. So literally all you had to worry about is, what can I do? How can I pour into myself without
and it was so
the
easy.
things? It was so easy.
I was working out.
Look,
I was waking up at 5 a.m. and I didn't even have to.
I used to talk so positively to myself then. That was when I was doing the what was I? Oh, I was doing mindful Mondays, and I was posting on my Instagram, and I would share like things that I was doing to pour into myself because I was so good at it then. It was so aligned with who I was. I would write in my journal every day. I had all these affirmations. I would like express gratitude. And now when I sit down and try to do stuff like that, I'd be like, I hate this freaking job. I'm pissed off. I don't like this person. And it's just like, it just infiltrates my mind. Like, and I try so hard to shove it out, but it is like
ruminating.
I don't think that the isolation of COVID and not like having any distractions is the reason that the self-talk was good during that time. I think it was realizing that things could really be worse and that what you had before is no longer relevant. So it's like losing that and then being like, damn, I'm left with my house and I have to fend for myself, and these are the ways I'm going to pour into me. Because in reality, like, people are literally dying. Yeah. And so it was a certain gratefulness. Yeah. The fact that I can wake up and like you look around and you realize like, oh wow, like all the things that I hated before, I'm thankful that I have right now because. Yeah.
The only thing that makes me pause is like, so technically I could say that now.
You could.
So why am I still struggling?
But think about it. If you were to be isolated and to go through COVID right now,
Yeah.
how do you think you would respond?
I actually don't
You would
know.
be the same way? Do you
I don't
think you
know.
would have the same routine?
I literally don't know. I don't know. I don't think I would.
Maybe it's the circumstances of your life that cause you to feel as though...
You know what? I will say when quarantine happened, I had literally just moved to Chicago.
Mhm.
Everything was a fresh start. Everything was a fresh start because I didn't know anyone.
That's a good perspective. It was a fresh start for me at that time too, because I had just graduated college.
Oh, wow.
And I had just graduated college not long before that. And I was just in the baby phase of starting my career. And so everything was new with that. And so I didn't really like lose anything necessary, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, I
feel like
I was at the point of gaining.
Exactly. There are people who like had already routines and things set up with the way that their life moved and worked and whatnot. I didn't have that situation. Like, I was just starting my career life. So I was like, oh, I get to be at home. Like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
But it put me more into my introvert shell than ever before. But that was also kind of good for me because I was able to block out so much. I just felt like I was really in my own bubble.
Facts.
And it was what sparked inside of me that like, maybe I don't need to be around, like work around so many people. Like I really felt that. And that was the reason why, and this is the part that keeps coming up in my mind, like, Kayla, you literally went back to school not to be a school counselor, but to provide outside services that have to do with counseling. Now, does that vision still align with who I am today? Questionable. Because like what we were just saying, we went through a life-altering thing. Like COVID changed everything for everybody. Yeah. It really did. And so the people that we were, like before we went into, like think about who you were before quarantine happened. Who was that person?
Oh, cute little Iyanna.
Who do you feel like you were then?
She was so young and sweet.
So full of life.
So full of life and sweet. Actually, that's not true. I before quarantine was, I'm still myself, fairly chaotic, fairly impulsive, but like thought out impulsive. Like, hey, I'm going to move to here and I'm telling y'all after the fact type of impulsive, but it was thought out. I didn't have extremely strong relationships or friendships at the time because I didn't value them at that point. I had been so used to being by myself all the time that it was fine for me. It was during quarantine where I started to value connection because being secluded like that for 10 straight months was like a lot for me. And that's when I realized the Ari Lennox quote that I will never not quote. And she was just like, oh my gosh, I need people. And that's what it was for me. I was like, oh shit, that's crazy. I even started to love my parents more. It was wild.
That's crazy. I feel like I had the opposite effect.
Oh.
Because I think because of me being an only child, I have always craved being around people. And I put that as such a high value. Like literally all through college, I was always with people. If it wasn't, because I wasn't in a relationship for a majority of college, but I was with my friends all the time. I was never alone. I was always with people. And so
I was either.
Yeah, so having that moment of stillness and being alone, I really started to pour into myself in a very different type of way and like find things that I really liked about myself, loved about myself. I had just got out of a toxic relationship. So that was like really pushing myself.
It's like a shedding.
Yeah. Marcus and I had just started dating.
It's the fresh start.
It was the fresh start.
It was the fresh start.
But how do we implement that into our lives without today?
Having a fresh start? See, and that's my issue. I think that's how I would always implement the good changes is I would just make some drastic change like moving. And I can't do that now. Now I can't run.
So what do you do?
Which always felt like a positive run. It was a positive run because great things happened. Nonetheless, I can't run.
So now that you have to sit in it, how do you
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
You don't know.
Because I keep thinking I'm good. Well, that's another thing. I need to stop doing things in black and white like that. Like I'm good or I'm bad. I'm healed or I'm unhealed. Shan talked about something about some people taking on being healed or a healed woman as an identity. And it made me pause like, oh my God, have I been doing that? And I think I slick have, which is why it's been hard for me when I do have hard moments, because I forget like there is no such thing as completely healed. It's a journey. It's always a journey.
Yep.
You know?
We're constantly in orbit. And I think that we feel like at a certain point, I know. We feel like at a certain point we should just have it under wraps. But you never do, because it goes back to the analogy I used about the video game thing. We're in a video game. So when you master one level, you go up to another level and there's other things.
There's other challenges.
There's other challenges. And instead of focusing on, I think that the main thing that I'm really trying to challenge myself to do that is very difficult for me is, instead of focusing on the challenges that I'm facing, focus on the gratitude that I have for the blessings that came with those challenges, because of the fact that even though there are always new challenges, there are things that come with that are things that you've prayed for, things that you've manifested, whatever you choose to do. They got there, but they just come with challenges.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part.
I think the hardest thing about life is learning that it's unfair.
Oh, look, the best advice that my dad gave me that I try to really stick with, and this is going to sound really like dramatic, but nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
And that is the hardest reality. I think that is the biggest difference between myself today and myself when I was like young, fresh out of college. I felt like everybody should care about my problems. Like, what?
Kayla said, what about me?
What about me? I care about everybody else's problems. Why don't they care about my problems? That was my huge issue.
That's another hard thing about life is stop expecting people to respond the way that you
Oh
would
my
respond.
gosh.
We should stop it. What do you mean?
Because you are uniquely you,
right?
And they are uniquely them, and they bring different things to the table. I feel like if the
whole world was like me, it'd be a great place. But I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if that is true. Somebody has to.
As fuck.
Somebody needs to balance you out.
Beautifully so. I do need people in my life that balance me, because naturally alone it's just chaos.
Yeah,
I am chaos.
Yeah,
I love it though.
I just need to get out of my head. I got to set some... Okay. Let's walk away from this episode with some... Kayla? I just want us to have some things.
Let's walk away with some tools in our belt.
Some actionable things that we're going to do.
What is it?
Like for real. Okay. And then we say it here, and then all of you can hold us accountable as well.
Oh, no, I don't like that.
Can accountability is so much fun. Okay. Accountability partners.
Okay, fine.
So...
What's our actionable things?
I know what I need to do.
Is it your self-talk?
Yeah, but I think that also comes with my self-care. I think part of the reason why my self-talk is so bad is because I don't prioritize myself.
You need routine self-care.
I do.
Not like unpredictable. Like I need to do it 2 times a week. I think you need routine, because your life works better if it's in routine.
Yeah, and I hate that.
And you have to prioritize.
I hate that so much because contrary to popular belief, I really do like spontaneity. I enjoy that. And so that's why it's so hard for me to stick to a schedule. Like, I really don't like that because it feels too rigid. Yeah. It reminds me of my childhood. My parents are very scheduled type of people. And I've always said, when I grow up, I'm never going to be like that. So that's why it's really hard for me. But I really do need it. It doesn't, and I think how I can mix it up is I can freestyle some different ways of self-care.
Okay, here's an idea.
Okay.
So I still think it should be routine, but I do think you should have like a bowl or something with like just a bunch of ideas, and that'll be where the spontaneity is. Yeah. Have a bunch of self-care ideas in there, shake it up, and just pick one for the day.
Yeah, that's what I really need to do, but I have to get back into me because I don't spend time with myself. And that's what makes it very difficult when it comes time for me to outpour into others and connect with other people. I think that's why I've been kind of like a vegetable lately. Like, man, I don't really look for depth right now. I look for more so like, let's just have fun. Like, let's just vibe out. Like, it's very hard for me to do that because I just do it all day at work.
I feel it.
So yes, I need to get back in my self-care. And I think that if I got back and spending time with myself and relearning things about myself that I actually like about myself, I won't be so harsh on myself.
I feel that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And also the thing that we all talked about that I'm really trying to do is I'm really trying to challenge myself. And I think that previously when I would challenge myself, I would feel as though I would have that's where the negative self-talk is really bad. And so I'm trying to put myself in a different position where I challenge myself and enjoy the learning process and being okay with not being perfect at something as soon as I try it.
Strive for excellence, not perfection.
Yes. So, and look, I'm telling you, that's where that comes from. When I was a kid, if I would like do schoolwork and stuff like that and not do well in it, I would talk so poorly about myself and I would feel stupid and feel like I'm not good enough and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so that has translated into my adult life and it's made me very, I don't know, like it makes me not put myself in a lot of situations that are challenging.
Yeah.
I choose to put myself in situations that I know I could do it with ease.
I feel that.
Okay, what about you? I feel like you engage in self-care.
I do engage in self-care. Probably
a little too much.
Well, the thing is, I usually struggle with just like overindulgence or underindulgence of anything. Balance is always hard for me. It's the extreme. It's the extremes. I struggle with balance. But yeah, I think my life is just like the breeding grounds of just like extremes. Or it just like gives me too much opportunity to live in extremes.
So from like because you have so much free time.
Yeah, even when it comes to like me being in New York, being super social, peopling a lot in New York, to coming back to my apartment and like not talking to people for 2 days. Like it's just that I can do a lot in the extremes and I have room to do that now, which is a little bad. Anyways, what I really do want to work on is, of course, the self-talk. I need to get back to my affirmations. I've been slacking on my affirmations for months now.
Do you feel like they were working?
I think they definitely were for a minute.
Okay.
And then I slowed down.
Okay.
So the affirmations, and I need to start correcting myself when I'm actually talking. Because, I mean, again, I call myself dumb like 5 times a day at least. At least.
You know, the other thing that seems like it's important, I think that you might need to really prioritize like a certain amount of self-discipline. Like kind of what we were talking about for me, like really kind of curating a type of schedule for yourself and actually sticking to it so that you can make the best use of your time.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Yeah. It's hard.
I was thinking about that while I was on the toilet this morning. About like, what are some ways that I can increase like just my self-confidence in myself and my ability to handle things. And I was thinking about parents, the way that they do it with their children, or the best way to do it with their children is to help your children just feel as, why am I blanking out on that word? As competent as possible, but that you experience competency when you try something out. You realize you can do it, you do it again, you realize you can do it, you get better at it, you realize you can do it. At home, it's difficult to do that when no one's holding me accountable. When I said that, well, I will say it's been helping a little bit with my, I just got a whiteboard and me writing down a list of objectives that I want to do for the day and at least crossing off 3 per day.
Oh, that's good.
That's been good. The days that I don't do that though, again, the self-talk is so bad that I feel extreme shame and then I won't do anything for 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's just been like
So it's really the you being able to push yourself back up after you might have failed.
It comes back. What was that episode we had?
Resilience versus grit.
I have resilience. I have plenty of resilience. Not a lot of grit though.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, not a lot of grit.
Yeah. But you got this. I think that the really important thing, the important message that we don't really believe enough is failure is inevitable. Yeah. Like we're going to fail. Fact. And not being so defeated by failing, or like taking that opportunity to be like, what did I really learn from this experience?
Facts.
And being able to bring yourself back from it.
How the hell did we get here? We were talking about transparency and vulnerability.
I don't know. I mean, we're being vulnerable and transparent. So that's how we got here.
You see what we did there?
But we just let whatever come out because we haven't done one of these deeper conversations in a while. So we just can't help.
It is easier to do it here. I will say, if I'm vulnerable anywhere where I can be vulnerable, it might be here. Maybe not in front of like other people that I don't know. But like here, I can do that. You want to know why? Because I feel psychologically and emotionally safe.
I love that.
That's how you know you can be vulnerable with somebody.
Yeah.
Do you feel emotionally safe?
I have one last thing to add to this conversation about vulnerability versus transparency. I was telling Marcus that I feel nervous about if I'm going to cry at the wedding because of the fact, not because I'm not emotional. Like I'm going to feel all the feels. I feel like I will do it, but I get nervous to show masses my emotions.
I think
think about it. I've never even cried on the podcast.
That's normal though. So I mean, even if you see, I don't know, maybe you won't.
I don't know,
because that's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people, and they're all going to be looking at me. So it's just,
I will say that shit is awkward as fuck.
Yeah, it's just weird. So I don't know. Like I might
just trying to look for faces that you're like, hi.
Exactly. That's what I'm gonna be like. I'm gonna be looking at y'all like,
because it's hard to just stare at Marcus too.
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably just cry from the overwhelm of emotions of what the day is, but I would like, it is my innate like desire to try to fight that from happening.
What I feel like a moment that might actually make you cry, I don't think it'll be when you're like walking down the aisle or anything. I think it'll be when you and Marcus are up there alone, and because for a second there you might forget that everyone else is there and you guys are just connecting with just you
with
two.
The vows.
Yeah, with the vows.
The vows might get me.
The vows got me, man.
Yeah, the vows will probably get me. And I think the first dance too with him and my dad.
That's just like, oh
yeah, I think I'll cry when I dance with my dad.
That's beautiful.
I think I will.
It's the one-to-one moment.
Yeah. And I asked him if he was going to cry at the wedding. He said, for what? I said, okay. Anyways.
I don't know, because you're marrying the best woman alive.
There lies my daddy issues. All right. Well.
Oh, you meant your dad said that.
My dad. Oh, no. Marcus said he's going to be boohoo crying.
I was about to say, I can't imagine Marcus not crying.
Marcus is going to cry. I asked my dad if he's going to cry.
Oh, he said for what?
He said for what? He said, manage your expectations.
Damn.
I said,
okay, Dad.
Okay.
Thanks
for crushing my dream.
Thanks, Dad.
But yeah.
Let's do a little vulnerability affirmation because
we need it.
It's been a minute since we've done
Obviously, we need it
affirmations.
because we just told y'all how we're struggling.
All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
I have the courage to be vulnerable.
I have the courage to be vulnerable.
Sharing my true self is brave, and I'm proud of myself for my courage.
Sharing my true self is brave, and I'm proud of myself for my courage.
I am not needy. I have needs like everyone else.
Ooh, I like that one. I am not needy. I have needs like everyone else.
My needs deserve to be met as much as anyone else's.
My needs deserve to be met as much as anyone else's.
Okay, that's all I got.
Okay, so I have 3 that I wrote. I think some of these are from the 4 agreements, though, as well. Today, I choose happiness, optimism, and dedication to self.
Today, I choose happiness, optimism, and dedication to self. Tonight, really, because
yeah, or whenever you're listening. Always do your best. Your best is always enough.
Aw, always do your best. Always do my best. My best is good enough.
Don't make assumptions. Always ask questions.
Oh, I'm going to do that anyways. Okay, don't make assumptions. Ask questions. I'm going to say I do that. I'm going to ask me some questions.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, on that note, we are going to wrap it up. As always, you all can follow us on TikTok at feelintheblankpod. You can find our lovely visuals on YouTube, Fill in the Blank Podcast, if you want to see our beaming faces and our crazy reactions. And then you can also find us on Instagram at feelintheblank_. I am at astoldby.Kayla, and Iyanna is
at Iyanna.Amoa.
We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Bye.